goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
Excellent. So,
good enough for rock.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band and show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, we preview Listen to the Dissonance 2025 by sharing songs from the musicians and talk about the tabling organizations, as well as interview Ari Jacobson Each from month, Backline.
We will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese. I'm joined tonight by guest co-host.
That's me. Kate Hughes. I hate Kate.
And again, I'm going to say it every time. I don't hate Kate.
Aw, thank you.
But you are listening to...
The Dissonance. Just kidding. You're listening to your next favorite band.
Yes, but I also like that too. We are listening to The Dissonance. That's what tonight's all about. Mm-hmm. This weekend is 2 performances. So last year we did was our, I suppose you would say, our inaugural. Like, you never know if it's going to become an annual thing. So last year was just Listen to the Dissonance. Little did we know it was Listen to the Dissonance 2024.
Part 1.
Part 1, right.
Chapter
yes.
1. Chapter
yes.
1, yeah.
And so we brought it back this year, and the reception last year was so great. We were so humbled by this reception of this incredibly important topic of mental health, and being able to turn to musicians who said vulnerable and brave things during their interview and say, would you be willing to come back and do that again? I understand if the answer was no. But so far, everyone's been, yeah, let's do that. If this is connecting with people and meaning something, then let's do that. We'll talk about it again, and then we'll also play songs that came out of those mental health journeys. And so that's what last year was about, and people loved it, and in an important way. Not like, they're raving fans. It was more like, wow, I feel like that person could connect with how I'm feeling, and I don't feel as alone as I used to before, and now I have this song I can turn to when I'm struggling. So we put together a whole new lineup for this year, and we were able to get a second date. So we have Friday, February 28th in Bethlehem at the Ice House again, like we did last year. Mm-hmm. And then we have Saturday, March 1st, which is back-to-back days. It sounds weird to go from the 28th to the 1st and those being connected. Hence February. And that's going to be down at 118 North, which is a wonderful venue down in Wayne, Pennsylvania, closer to Philadelphia. And so we are so thrilled for that opportunity, and we can't wait to 2 times to present it to 2 different communities. But tonight I couldn't. It was a mouthful. I couldn't get it all out. Basically, we're going to play a song from each of the musicians on the lineup. We're going to talk about each of the tabling organizations just real quick because we want people to know what's going to be at these 2 evenings. I should say 1 afternoon. The Saturday is more of an afternoon show. And then we have 3 different highlights from interviews that we've done with other kind of mental health topics. One is Ari Jacobson, who's the clinical director of Backline. That was a terrific opportunity. We like to spotlight when we do these events built around a theme like mental health. We want to try and really find somebody to talk where they truly crossroads And so Backline is this wonderful organization that provides free mental health services to the music industry.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So we get to learn more about them. We actually talked with the executive director last year, Hillary Gleason, and this year, Ari Jacobson, who's the clinical director. And then we have interviews with Dan Whitener, who's a musician who's back to school to learn to become a therapist. And then one of our local nonprofits here, Speak Up for Ben and the Oasis Community Center, Rhonda Miller, the executive director, is another one. So all that I couldn't get out in the, I think, 8.5 second spot I have in the middle of that song.
Why?
I should have
Why
hit
not?
pause. But I kind of just wanted to lay that out, and we do have a lot to get to. But first of all, how are you, Kate? This is what this is about. Let's check in. How are you doing?
I'm great, and typically if I'm not great, you'll hear about it.
Yes, that is true.
I
That is true.
don't sugarcoat anything. I'm just like, here's the tea.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm busy. I'm getting gigs, doing comedy. Last night we had a show at Inkwell. Not a show, an open mic night. 17 comedians. 17.
Wow.
That's the most we've ever had, I think.
Congratulations.
And it was the flow, the rhythm. It was awesome. Everyone's like
love
rooting for
love
one
when the
another.
night feels that way.
Yeah, and it's we need it. We need to laugh and clap for one another. So it was a good night. We all really enjoyed it. But yeah, things are really good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I think just simply the pressure of working a regular job, still being kind of a newlywed. We just had our second anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And then wanting to do something of the, because I'm just that type of personality that if I'm going to do it, I want to do it like really well. I don't want it to be, I don't half-ass things, I whole-ass them. As most people do, but I just more mean like, I'm trying not to miss anything. And so like, just
Good
as
luck.
we go through these, right, exactly. And so in addition to trying to do a show of this dense topic, let's also add a second performance. Oh, and let's also do a preview show like tonight to make sure. And you just keep signing. But this is what I think. So there are people who attended last year who want to attend this year, and that's awesome. There are people who didn't attend last year, and they're like, "What the heck is this thing?" And so that's what tonight is about. We want to try and make people aware of, what this is truly attempting to be.
Yeah.
First and foremost, is just purely an attempt to kind of destigmatize any of these words or phrases, or even just the admission that you're not doing okay. So
Oh yeah, 100%.
that's the first kind of hope or goal, is to just say, hey, you know what? Let's have an open conversation about these themes and not take words off the table, so that we can acknowledge depression or anxiety or substance abuse, addiction, even suicide. Like, those are things that when you can't talk about them, just make it that much more difficult to get over. But then when you can talk about them, it makes you feel like, okay, I can handle this.
And
Maybe
you're not alone. Yeah.
you're not alone. And you still may even need help, and that's okay too. Like, that's what this is about, like getting a therapist or getting a life coach or whatever, like whatever that might mean. But anyway, it does come through the lens, or ear maybe is the better term, of music. So it's not supposed to be, these are universal, music's the universal language. These are universal themes. It's not just obviously musicians who would struggle with these things, but if you can connect to that through one of these people becoming brave and vulnerable to share their story, that it helps you, then that's what this is trying to kind of at least put out there on the stage.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. And the first thing we were going to bring up, and for two reasons. One, this is like the dance card, if you will. These are the four artists. Oh, hi, Kate. Let me see how I can get out there too. Hi. Now you can do your pantomime thing. It works here. So this is the lineup. So John Worthy, he is an alt rocker from Nashville. He's played Music Fest a ton. That's where we've connected with him. And is a tremendous showman, but has, again, a story to share. Brittany Ann Tranbaugh, she's originally from the Lehigh Valley, went to charter arts.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, now calls Philadelphia home.
I still want to stick out here.
I know, I'll do the same. Now calls Philadelphia home, and is just has a tremendous, musical history, and then again has the mental health component to things. Brian Walker performs under the moniker A Day Without Love, which that in and of itself has a mental health story behind it. But just him too, just a very vulnerable and open person. Originally from Philly, now resides in Boston. And then Cass Noel here at Lehigh Valley. And you've seen her perform?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's stunning. I mean, so all four of them are tremendous musicians. All four have been on the show before. That's another part of what we try to do with our in-person events, is to make it about people who we already kind of had on the show and called a next favorite band, and that's there. So then you can also see underneath there again the dates and times. Ice House Bethlehem on Friday the 28th. Doors open at 6, show at 7. And same thing here, Saturday, March 1st, 118 North Wayne, Pennsylvania, doors at 1:30, show at 2:30. The reason why there's an hour is because we have multiple organizations that provide mental health services or safe spaces that you can learn about and walk around and talk to those organizations before the show and probably afterwards as well. The one thing I wanted to really focus on here also is this was a tremendous design it's actually a musician who also is a graphic designer, Marissa Paternoster. In addition to being this incredible visual artist, she's probably the best guitarist I've ever seen perform.
Oh.
Yeah, she's amazing. She also obviously not only does graphic design, but she also is an author. She has a book out called Merriment, which is also about mental health. And so just made perfect sense to ask her to do the design. She just absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I just wanted to applaud Marissa. Thank you so much for doing such an amazing design on this.
Yeah.
I've never done T-shirts before, and there will be T-shirts of this design at this event. So there will be.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we were kind of calling him Dissonance Dan. I don't know why I just needed to give him a name. So he's on the T-shirt, and then it does all the things, and it's a really cool design that I have to thank a whole lot of other people for. But anyway, that's that. And then I wanted to bring up our sponsors. We were so honored to be able to get sponsors for this. So, local radio station WDIY celebrating their 30th year.
30 years. Can you imagine that?
Can you believe that? Let's see here. Let me read a little bit about them. WDIY celebrating 30 years, a listener-supported public radio station, NPR station, based in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. The station first began broadcasting in 1995 and serves the community of Eastern Pennsylvania, Western New Jersey, and award-winning NPR programs like Morning Edition, All Things Considered, along with locally produced programs exploring political, financial, and cultural topics in the Lehigh Valley. We are such a, it's a gem in our community. It's an amazing thing that we have that we offer, and then we were so honored that we were able to kind of get together to celebrate their 30th year by them being a sponsor, and we were able to kind of get on their airwaves to kind of help promote the event. Tumbleweed photographer. Derek is this wonderful photographer that shoots live music, but also is an advocate for mental health. So again, a perfect match for what we all want to do with this event. And so he will be there taking some photography. And then lastly, BetterHelp. So BetterHelp is an organization. Let me actually do this. There's actually an ad. I have an ad for the first time ever in this show.
Let's do it.
Hey, here you go, BetterHelp. Hey, music lovers. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, BetterHelp. More and more mental health topics of depression, anxiety, addiction, and more are coming up in our interviews with artists and musicians who are brave enough to share them and the music that came out of the journey. Those songs may even help us feel a little bit less alone as we work through the same struggles, but at the end of the day, we need more than just a great song. We need therapy, and that's where BetterHelp can assist. BetterHelp connects you with a therapist who can help you find your path. Instead of being stuck in the endless loop of questioning yourself, you can talk through questions, concerns with someone who's trained to help you find real answers. As you know, our Listen to the Dissonance shows help to create a safe space for vulnerable conversations, but not everywhere can feel that way. Since BetterHelp is accessed via their app, you can explore your options and conduct your sessions in the comfort of your own home or wherever you feel is best for you. After you download the app, you'll get started by filling out a questionnaire and get matched with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. And if that's not feeling right, you can easily switch to a different therapist at any time at no extra cost. They carefully make sure the therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you with any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. We at Your Next Favorite Band believe in breaking the stigma around mental health, and going to therapy is a sign of strength, not weakness. And with BetterHelp, it's easier than ever to take that first step towards feeling better. Click the link here or go to betterhelp.com/nextfaveband and you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy. That's betterhelp.com/nextfaveband. It's okay to ask for help. Contact BetterHelp today. So there you have our first ever advertisement.
Love it. It's a big
And
tip.
easy for me to say, but yeah, right. I think the important part to me always was that it had to kind of sync up with what we were doing. Like, and this just made a ton of sense that, I researched it. They are very reputable. And I think the most important part here is the fact that you would be able to do it from your phone and perhaps be discreet about these first steps. If you are still struggling with the admission or the stigmas or what have you, this might be a great way to take that first step. So there
I
you
love
go.
it.
BetterHelp.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to call them right now. I'll be right back.
No, you're not supposed to admit.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I'll wait till after the show. No, it's great. I did therapy. I've done therapy pretty much my whole life, but I was able to talk to a counselor over the phone. Game changer. I didn't have to leave my house, and it was just so nice to know that you can just do a phone call. But this is 2025.
Absolutely, exactly right. Yeah. So check that out, and we do have some people tuning in. Mike Egan's out there. He says that David looks different.
Thank you.
And we have Roy and the Secret People. Mike Roy is tuned in as well. So if you're out there and tuned in, let us know. We want to hear if you like the music and if you like the theme, and if you're going to be joining us on this weekend, we'd love to know more about that. So we wanted to, like we were saying, talk about each of the musicians, give a little bit of a backstory, because I think concerts are an interesting thing, because you might see 3-4 people on the lineup and know one and be like, well, should I go and see all 4 of them? I don't know if it's there. That's what I guess what I'm getting is we're going to play a song from each musician. And then again, even before we get to that, we did a promo video that kind of gives a little bit of a peek into the window into what they're carrying with themselves. And so I kind of wanted to play that first, because this was kind of basically what we did is we were meeting as a group of 5 people to just talk through the event and give each other it's kind of like a networking, I guess you might say it, or team building, if you want to call it that, where we were giving those backstories to each other through a call. And I asked if I could record it so that I could do something like this. So here, check out this little video. It gives a little peek into each of the artists who are going to be performing. And it just struck me that I was like, wow, if it means that much to people, maybe there should just be a whole show that just embraces that directly. And so that was where Listen to the Dissonance kind of got born.
I'm Brittany Tranbaugh. I tried playing some gigs and I just started having panic attacks before the guy was like, okay, maybe I need to really not play shows.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Walker. I sing in the project A Day Without Love. I wanted to write music that helps me rise above my own struggle, which would therefore help other people rise above their own struggles.
So I'm Cass. Right word, because it's not yay, let's all cry together, but in a way it's yay, let's all cry together at any given time, because that's what we need.
Hi guys, my name's John Worthy. Music for me has always been my therapy. I write all my songs pretty much about my emotions and relationships that I've had, so I'm pretty open about things that I've been through.
The mental health kind of stuff that definitely was with me all as a kid really started coming out in a way that I couldn't avoid.
So with that being said, I'll play you a song and share about how many of the negative isms of our world have made us feel less than, but the reality is you are more than.
So it's been a journey of healing. It's been a musical journey.
Just connect with people that, I think a lot of people are dealing with mental health in all kinds of ways. So it's music is a great source to help people with that.
So that was basically all 4 of the performers kind of sharing some little tidbits of. All I can say is that the when we get to the parts they were talking about before and after those moments, it's going to be a powerful evening, and then especially the sharing of a song or a piece of music that came from that. it's just going to be that much more powerful. For tonight, I chose specifically songs that won't be played, so that it's not trying to like either kind of what would you say, like just get out in front of itself or kind of spoil a moment. So we're playing songs that are either a little bit more happy or just not necessarily about this theme exactly. So let's start with John Worthy. You heard him there. He was kind of the one at the end there. And this is his track. It's a relatively new song. I think it's the first track off of his most latest release. The song is called I Don't Care What You Say by John Worthy.
God! Why do I put myself through this? Every single day. Hey man, you free? I need your help with something. Alright, I don't know what you're...
You got a spell over me that I've been trying to hide. It's in the way that you move and the curse of your eyes. I wanna give you the world if only you would believe. I got a feeling we'll find all the things that you need. And now you're letting me go, and then you tell me to stay, and now you're turning me on. It's like nothing has changed. It's the days that we lost, it's the days that you love, it's the feeling we'll find, it's the feeling you love. I don't care what you say. Do you remember the days when this was nothing but love? It's written in your eyes the way you're trying to run. I know there's something to say about the things I believe, but I will give you the world and all the things that you need. And now you're letting me go, and then you tell me to stay, and now you're turning me on. It's like nothing has changed. It's the days that we lost, it's the days that you love, it's the feeling we'll find, it's the feeling you love, it's the falling apart when it's feeling the same. Now I'm letting you down. It's like nothing has changed. It's the end of the world, but I can't let it go. Now I'm waiting around for something to blow. I don't care what you say. Give it time, I'll find a place to go. All the days you said you didn't know. I believe in all the ways of love. I don't wanna hear that you won't show. And now you're letting me go, and then you tell me to stay, and now you're turning me on. It's like nothing has changed. It's the days that we lost, it's the days that you love, it's the feeling we'll find, it's the feeling you love, it's the falling apart when it's feeling the same. Now I'm letting you down. It's like nothing has changed. It's the end of the world, but I can't let it go. Now I'm waiting around for something to blow. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say.
So there's I Don't Care What You Say by John Worthy.
Love it.
Right? And there you can see what we meant by alt rocker. One of the funniest things about that video is the orange hat that it's his bassist in the band. The hat that he's wearing, he got from a Music Fest live stream that George Wacker was doing of Lehigh Valley with Love.
Really?
That I happened to be at. And I think it's a PPL hat or something. Like it's one of these hats where it was just like other organizations and sponsors were putting stuff out on the Lehigh Valley with Love table, and then that guy picked it up, and now he's still wearing it that many years later.
I love it.
So George, there you go. He's still wearing the hat. One thing I wanted to do before moving on was when John Wirt, so like I mentioned, everybody was on the show. When a lot of times musicians are on the show, they'll play a song acoustic. And the show this weekend is more of the acoustic side of things. So you might listen to that song and be like, well, I'm not into rock or whatever. That might not be your thing. But I wanted to play the exact same song in that style because this would be more of what you'd be expecting to experience Friday and Saturday at Listen to the Dissonance. So here is I Don't Care What You Say by John Worthy, but acoustic and on your next favorite band.
I Don't Care What You Say by John Worthy.
Yeah. So I'm going to take us off the screen, let you have center stage, and you can tickle our eardrums with your forthcoming single.
Yeah, so this song is called I Don't Care What You Say. It's the first single off the album, and it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. Super energetic and fun, and it does have more of that live band feel, and it's just kind of, it can take on a story of, it definitely has like a relationship in there, but it's also just not really caring what people think and say about you, and I think that's for a lot of people that's a good way to go through life if you can, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. This is called I Don't Care What You Say.
You got a spell over me that I've been trying to hide. It's in the way that you move and the curse of your eyes. I wanna give you the world if only you would believe. I got a feeling we'll find all the things that you need. And now you're letting me go, and then you tell me to stay, and now you're turning me on. It's like nothing has changed. It's the days that we lost, it's the days that you love, it's the feeling we're fine, it's the feeling you love. I don't care what you say.
So you can see they're kind of like the same song, just done completely differently. And this is a little bit more of kind of what you'd expect to hear Friday and Saturday. So even if you're familiar with Brittany Ann Tranbaugh or Day Without Love or Cass or John Worthy, it's going to be a special experience because it'll be either versions of the songs you've ever heard of, or I've heard from more than one of the artists that they have songs that are a little bit darker about these struggles that they've never released because of that stigma that they plan on playing that night because they know the space is safe to bring that, and it's more what maybe that audience would be looking for, whereas they may not want to drag an audience down if that's an element of what they want to not necessarily hear. So that's kind of the neat part that I wanted to put on display here.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is the John Worthy experience. So lots more coming from different ones, but now we kind of wanted to move into that interview. So again, Backline, their website is backline.care. I thought that was a really cool extension, I guess you might say. So you go to backline.care or backline.org, and you'd be able to learn more about this organization. If you're a lover of live music and you want to support it, there's ways to do that. You'll hear it in the interview. And if you are a musician, this is a way to get access to free mental health services, and there'll be more details here. I should say, of all the interviews, these are highlights. I cut them down by half, and the conversations were so good, I had them keep going. I thought they'd be like 15 minutes long. They were all more like 30. So I brought them back down to 15-ish. So they may jump around as you're listening. That's simply because I was making some edits and focusing on the core parts for today. But there's a lovely talk with all three of these different people. But for now, let's check in with Ari Jacobson of Backline.
Backline is celebrating turning 5 this month. Over these last 5 years, we've seen mental health in the music industry evolve. This is Ari Jacobson. He's the clinical director at Backline, and he's been instrumental in helping grow our provider network. When he first joined in 2021, we had 181 clinicians in our referral network. Since then, we've added over 850 more providers and have expanded to all 50 states. 95% of these providers offer sliding scale or negotiated rates for the backline community, and over 72% of these providers have treated industry professionals, while 51% have personal experience working in the music industry themselves, so they get it. Over the past 5 years, we've provided more than 1,600 personalized care plans to people in the industry and their families. One client who went through our case management program said that in the darkest time of my life, I didn't know where to turn. Backline and its services are likely why I'm even here today. As we've grown, so has our understanding of what the music community needs. Not everyone requires traditional therapy, so we've partnered with like-minded organizations and practitioners, offering affordable access to wellness resources like yoga, meditation, sound baths, and more. We've also started the Real Talk with Backline series and partnered with the Sona Foundation for monthly fireside chats to highlight the uniqueness of each mental health journey, empowering individuals to find the tools that are right for them by hearing lived experiences from industry members. And this is only the beginning. Explore Ari Jacobson's full blog post on backline.care to read how Backline is moving the needle when it comes to providing mental health and wellness resources to the music industry and their family members.
So there you heard some of the great resources available from Backline, and you even heard from specifically offered by Ari Jacobson. And we have Ari Jacobson here with us tonight, Clinical Director of Backline. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good evening. No, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Because it's so amazing what you offer to the music industry with respects to free mental health services, and just incredible. And we're going to get obviously into not only what is offered, but the importance of like why the music industry or an artist within the music industry would have some unique needs.
And we see that very much with touring musicians specifically, or people in this with this lifestyle, because it's hard to maintain a healthy routine. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to find a good place to find, to get consistent sleep. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually something else. So this is a good point to talk about all of that. These unique needs or kind of the spectrum that a musician is faced with. We could almost play like name the difficult hurdle ping pong where I would name one and you would name one, but that would probably get annoying after a little while. But like you've mentioned some there, like, on the touring side of it, you've got just simply the aspect of you're away from home. You get this aspect of the sleep thing, because a lot of times they're trying to sleep in their cars to maximize the amount of revenue they're making, so they don't want hotel rooms. So they're trying to sleep in a car or a van or whatever. Or even if they're just trying to drive all night to get to the next gig. All of those kinds of things. You've got the highs of the performance, the lows of the downtime. Is ticket sales enough? Did somebody not promote it enough? Did we show up at a venue and they forgot we were even booked? Like, you've got all these different highs and lows of that whole tour. Then you come home and then just the crash of now you're no longer getting that adrenaline rush and that kind of thing. Then just the simple fact of musicianship. You've got, the creation of, a lot of it is very emotional in the songwriting aspect of things. So now then if you put all of your heart into a song and then no one likes it, that's a problem. Like, just all of that. And I could keep going, but like there's such a unique element to a musician's lifestyle that then you can see why they would have struggles with mental health. Like, there's just such a heart on your sleeve. And I mean, the other one I thought of just today was other artists paint a picture, you put it on a wall. If somebody doesn't like it or likes it, you don't really see it. Whereas I'm performing this thing in front of you. So not only is it out there, but I'm also, your reaction to it is happening right in front of me in real time. Anyway, that's just got to be very difficult for somebody who might already struggle without having all of that being part of the factor of their profession.
Sure. And I mean, I've said for years that I've been a therapist seeing clients since, I guess, 2011 at this point. And I've had so many bad sessions. I've had days where I've just felt off. I've been distracted. And there is, aside from me maybe saying to a client of like, hey, I'm feeling a little off today, bear with me. They tend to give you grace. But there's so many people who are standing on stage, and there are people in the stands or in the, standing in front of them who know their music better than they do at this point. So one small note that's been off, and all of a sudden there's a post on Reddit that explains how off they sounded. And
Yeah,
how,
or yeah, not worth the ticket price or whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Oh my gosh.
So it's such an easy profession to critique, and it's part of it's between live music, athletes, just having that uh, social belief that we can critique them as fans because we feel that they're putting themselves out there. There's so much pressure to try and be perfect, and perfect doesn't exist because technically, if you reach perfect, then
Yeah.
you haven't quite gotten there yet. So
Yeah, and then there's even real life logistical issues from the simple fact of if you're touring, even if you had a good therapist, if they're not licensed in the states you're going into, they can't help you while you're on the road.
yeah, state lines are a really difficult topic. I'm in Maryland. I have a client currently who I see through Backline who lives 3.5 hours from me. His address is within the state of Maryland, but he's 3.5 hours from me. I live about 40 minutes from York, Pennsylvania. I had a client who moved across that line, and now I had to refer him to another provider because I am not licensed in the state of in the state of Pennsylvania. Excuse me. And it's an outdated, and that's an opinion, but it's an outdated thing just because when I first started in this career, even 10 years ago, if somebody went to another state and had an emergency, it was really hard to figure out how to get them resources.
Sure.
But nowadays with 988 and the internet and 911 just being more accessible,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to help somebody find, crisis resources right then and there. So there are efforts to try and change state lines. There's bills out there to allow therapists and social workers to work across state lines. But yeah, it's really hard. So for many musicians, if they really need somebody who can see them while they're on the road, there are actually a lot of therapists, especially post pandemic, that are licensed therapists and are either also offer coaching services. So offer a different type of service while the person's on the road, but then when they're home, they can really do the therapy work. Or I've even helped clients who see me for therapy. We schedule for when they're home. I'm definitely more flexible with my email responses, and when they're in town, I definitely am more willing to move some things around to make sure they get seen. But then while they're on the road, I've gotten them connected with a life coach just to help with some of that. Like, I'm having daily anxieties, and I just need to help piece some things together. So just helping find supports anywhere that they really can.
So let's now spend a little, obviously, the rest of our time talking much more about the Backline organization, like we talked about kind of off the top there. 5-year anniversary, not only reaching new heights just of your own accord, but recently Chappell Roan makes a great statement at the Grammys, and then subsequently makes even larger statement financially to kind of back your organization as well as many other sponsorships. So that's all basically within the last 2 weeks. So we don't have to spend a ton of time on that because it's still so new. But what I wanted to kind of highlight there is a giant momentum building direction of let's destigmatize this. Let's talk about it because, our prior generations talked about this stuff either in whispers or only in a way that once someone crossed into past needing regular help, if you will, and needing something that was much more urgent, was like the only time that someone was enforced to have care instead of they could have done something way earlier in the process. So I'm obviously thrilled to see all of that and seeing people talk about their therapist much more comfortably now and seeking help. But anyway, still a lot more work to be done. But let's focus on Backline because this is the purpose of today. So now what I'm going to do is bring up the site so that we can basically use this as a navigation and talking point from here. Love the URL. It's backline.care. Highly memorable.
I think we also fall under, if you type in backline.org, I think we get that one now too.
I believe that is because I'm sure people go that more naturally. But I love, and again, the branding is tremendous.
Thank you.
But probably let's start with, like it says right here, music industry professionals and their families. So it's more than just the artist. It's the family, and then even not just the performers, but other people who are involved in the industry.
Yeah, we recognize that the industry is really an ecosystem. So to qualify for Backline services, 50% of your income has to come from anything in music over the last 2 years. So obviously that's going to be any of your artists, your musicians, anybody who's on stage, but also your backstage workers, your front of house staff, venue operators, tour bus drivers, just anybody who falls under that umbrella. And then also their family members. All they have to do is go onto the website. At the very top, they can request help and fill out a form to meet with a case manager.
Yep.
And I can explain all that as we kind of go through it.
Sure.
But just as we go into it, all of our services are free. If you qualify for Backline's resources, it's free to go through case management. It's free to ask for any of the resources. Like I said, our goal really is just trying to help people find everything and actually get connected.
Awesome. Yeah, so here's kind of like the different categories: case management, communities, educational resources, and wellness. These are the kind of the different kind of pillars, I guess, of what you're trying to offer to people so that they can basically navigate this how they are the most comfortable in this moment in time.
Yeah, our case management is definitely our main pillar. I would say the large majority of people who reach out to Backline are coming through our case management in an effort to get connected with some sort of mental health or wellness provider. So whether that's a therapist, a social worker, a life coach, even to an acupuncturist, a Reiki instructor, med provider, that is what they would all go through case management for. Our communities, we have one weekly online support group. And then the communities are also a series of real talk conversations and fireside conversations, which are just real, raw mental health music conversations about different topics with industry professionals and other providers, just to kind of normalize the conversation and let people know that these conversations are really important to be having.
Sure. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the case management in particular, if there was if it was important for the person to be matched with somebody of a certain affinity group, you do your best to make that happen. So if they are maybe they're struggling with gender identity and they want somebody from the LGBT community who is a therapist to help them through that, or a person of color, or female, whatever. Like, there's many different attributes that a person might find important in that match, and you do your best to make that happen.
Yeah, so we're really excited. This past year, we surpassed 1,000 providers within our referral network across the country. Yeah. Actually, sometime in the next couple of weeks, we hope to break the 1,200 mark. But what happens during a case management call is we have a real conversation with the person. We do a pretty simple screener for safety and any kind of substance use, just to see if we need to provide some of those resources. But then we kind of really talk about, like, what are you struggling with? What type of resources are you looking for? We will obviously introduce like organizations and other resources that maybe the people haven't heard of, just so that they know that it exists. And then we have a real conversation about what type of provider the person is looking for. So that will cover everything from where are they located, what type of specialties do they have, do they accept insurance, what are their fees, how do they identify, where do they practice in person, have they been in the music industry before, have they treated people in the music industry.
Right.
We have a whole conversation. Every provider that we bring into our referral network has to go through at least a half-hour vetting call with us, where we just learn about their specialties, people they've treated, any types of disorders or anything that they specialize in, just so that way when we do make a referral, we are doing our best to try and match people with somebody that is going to be a really good fit for them.
Yeah. We're here, if I kind of climb into this, the resources, I want to talk about this. This is, I guess, where somebody might be able to just get some guidance or some help while they're on the road, kind of self-navigate this rather than speaking with someone, but might be enough to get them through.
This all started from an online support group we were holding for partners of members of the touring industry. And during a conversation, somebody who was in the group said to one of our group facilitators, she said, my husband is on the road for the first time, and I need to get in touch with him. And I realized, like, I call and he doesn't pick up, or he calls me and it's at a weird time. And one of our facilitators said, like, well, what have you guys shared in terms of like his schedule, who's, what hotels he's in? And she's like, I hadn't done any of that. I wish somebody would have created a form for me just to like fill out. And so the group facilitator came back to me and said, this is what she said. I said, well, that's a form. Let's create a form.
Make a form.
And while and the person with us who was helping us kind of start create this, Pooja, has been a longtime partner of a touring member, and as we just started talking, she and I, along with Carrie Ann, who was our fellow at the time, just started realizing that there were so many resources that people needed or had asked us for, or we thought would just be helpful, that we could put into something that people could take on the road and fill out and use, and just, if they're struggling while they're on the road, have something tangible to really kind of grasp onto. So we created two versions. There's the version for people who are touring what we just consider independently, and then there's a version, excuse me, for people who are touring with a partner at home, family at home, whatever that might be. And it's really just, it's a fillable PDF document that people can use just to make sure they have resources while they're on the road without having to worry about having to look them up anywhere.
Yeah.
It's free to download, free to share. We just want people to have access to it, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought that was a great addition. And then there was one other thing I wanted to encourage musicians to consider. It's this here, this Take Care wellness kits.
Oh, yeah. These are incredible.
We actually received 4 of them from you for our performers for this weekend.
Great.
So they'll be enjoying those. But if you don't mind, last area I want to touch on is kind of the get involved. So this now is speaking to the general public, like the people who are the audience members, the music lovers, the people who go to attend the live events. These are the various ways that we all can get involved. From if you were a professional that you wanted to help, you touched on that slightly, but obviously you could just kind of help fundraise. There's different ways to kind of and get involved. I think the 2 major ones I wanted to touch on here was obviously donations.
Yeah.
Right up here in the top right corner is a donate now button. And then also here on this page, you can donate. So obviously financial support is huge. Or time, like if there's ways that you're local to it all, again, like you might be able to do it that way. But I love this one. This one is like the easiest thing in the world, and I really encourage everyone to do it, is the venues.
Yeah.
The next time, anytime you go to a venue, you could print this out and ask them to put this up in the green room. And I think this is such a tremendous element to, should any one musician have never heard of Backline, had never heard of how to go ask for help, but they're struggling, and they may not even feel comfortable talking about it with their own bandmates, but they look up on the wall and they could just snap a picture of this and know that the next private moment they have, they can go and start to seek help. I got to think the green room is one of the most powerful places for that communication to happen.
Sure.
And if it's as simple as putting this sign up, I think every green room in the entire country should have these up.
Yeah, and we totally agree. We currently have signage up in almost every Live Nation venue, a significant amount of AEG venues across the country, and then also, like you said, just a lot of smaller venues who just want to share the work that we're doing. It's not uncommon that we talk to somebody and we say, like, how'd you hear about Backline? And it's a client who's coming through to try and access our services. And what we find is that they usually can't remember. And when you talk to them a little bit about where they might have found it, it was exactly what you said. They were sitting in a green room. They were feeling one way or another and realizing that maybe they did need some help. And they snapped a picture of the QR code. And then it sat on their phone for a couple of weeks. And then they were on the bus and they're scrolling through Google again. And they go, oh, I forgot I scanned this QR code.
Right.
And then to fill out the form to request help is just a couple of minutes. And it just immediately sends them resources. It immediately sends them a link to schedule a call, and it's all very quick.
Yep.
The goal is to catch motivation while it's high.
Sure.
So yeah, if anybody is ever looking to do any kind of support, the first thing we always just say is hang up a sign somewhere. Green rooms, bathrooms are a good place always. Wherever snacks and coffee are kept are usually a good place too.
Sure.
But yeah.
And any venues that are listening, I think this would be an easy thing. But again, for us as the music goers, next time you go to the venue, you can just print it, hand it to them and say, hey, I really think you might want to consider putting this in your green room. And then it's on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ari Jacobson, Clinical Director, Backline, thank you for all you do, all the organization does, and for allowing us to shine a spotlight on all that greatness for our Listen to the Dissonance event.
I really appreciate it. And for listeners out there who are interested in donating, I would be remiss not to mention that you can find the link on our website. There's the Bustamante Fund. You will now see the We Got You campaign that are both running simultaneously right now. The money goes right back to everything we do. It goes right back to the clients. It offers more resources. We have funding available for anybody who maybe needs help paying for services. So with Music's Mental Health Fund, we can offer grants to help people pay for some of those therapy costs, and also help people get connected with other resources. So you will see in our annual report where all the money goes, but it all goes right back into trying to help make the music industry just a better place. So if you ever have questions, reach out. We're happy to answer them. But just thank you to everybody who supported us as we continue to go and grow over the next, hopefully forever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ari.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Lovely chat with Ari Jacobson, clinical director of Backline. That's less than half of it. So if you want to hear the full chat and get even more of his backstory, we go into how he found his way, a little bit more of the history of the organization, more of the services provided. But those were some highlights.
So cool. While that was playing, I subscribed to the newsletter. I bought some merch.
Wow.
I did.
There you go.
It's very cool. I mean, that's incredible. I love the guidebook too about, touring is hard. I mean, wouldn't even think about something like that. That's got to be so difficult.
Right. And that's mainly aimed at making sure that the family, who's not the touring part of the family, that they know where the person is, what their downtimes are, where they can't be interrupted, just different things to kind of help set boundaries, but also be grounded in support of each other.
Yeah, I often think about people that, like just as an example, Taylor Swift. I mean, I don't know how long she's been touring, but to go on every night and just receive that level of love and like give love, that's, first of all, it's got to be incredible.
Right.
And it's got to be exhausting.
Yes.
And then it's got to be over at some point.
Correct.
What's that transition
that
like?
That crash has got to be rough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you can see where, I think that performing arts does have a unique nature of how it can take somebody who might struggle and make it that much more difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're the only ones, and it doesn't mean other people don't have it really hard too. It's just this is a unique set of needs and stressors and ups and downs that you can see why it would be valuable to have a therapist who also is a musician, like where that can have, an element of understanding and empathy for that in a different kind of way. So thank you to Ari, thank you to Hillary, thank you to all of Backline, wonderful organization. Learn more about them, whether you're a musician or not. Wanted to get back to the music here. So let's go to the next person down the lineup, Brittany Ann Tranbaugh. We talked about her as being grew up here in the Lehigh Valley, now is in Philadelphia, full-time musician, really making it happen. Her music is she refers to it as queer Americana. So it does have a kind of a country vibe to it, but it always has elements of her story and her history. So let's take a listen to this song she wrote to this Commonwealth called Pennsylvania. So enjoy Pennsylvania by Brittany Ann Tranbaugh.
It was wonderful to live out west, fun to kid ourselves, I guess, back to the ones that love us best, no longer for too long. Now it's white dashes, yellow lines, and the radio blaring about divided times. I get misty when I see the sign that welcomes us back home, Pennsylvania. Never easy to explain you. Sometimes home's not just an easy change. together. Pennsylvania, it was never easy to explain you. Sometimes home's not just an easy change. Lately home feels like across the bear, across the bear. Pennsylvania, it was never easy to explain you. Sometimes home's not just an easy change. Lately home feels like across the bear, across the bear, across the bear.
Brittany Ann Tranbaugh, a wonderful track called Pennsylvania.
I love. It was never easy to explain you, Pennsylvania. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Right? Yeah, she is brilliant. A lot of people who listen to her music call it clever because she's so good at stuff like that. And then other things about it as well that again, each one of these people have been on the show before. If you liking the music and you want to learn more about the artist, just go to nextfaveband.com, search up their name, and that episode will pop up for you. And would also just love to help out in having you navigate that as well if you want to reach out and know where to get it. But let's bring up, before we do our next interview, let's bring up two of the one group of organizations that are going to be tabling. And it's kind of split between the two. So Friday night, these are hi there again. These are three of the organizations. There's actually 10 in total. So we're going to do them in two batches. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So the Lehigh Valley chapter will actually be attending. Oh, hello there. What a cutie. NAMI Lehigh Valley will be at the Bethlehem event at the Ice House, along with Clubhouse of Lehigh County. Just learned about them. That's a spectacular organization that basically people who struggle with maybe getting back into the workforce, it's a place where they can go and go through what it would be like to be at a work job. I'm not saying this well. Let them tell it better. But basically, they create a day that they have to work 8 hours, or they have to do this, or hit deadlines, and so that they can feel what it feels like without actually having to go do it to a real employer, so they can get more comfortable with it. It's a wonderful. No one else had thought of that. I mean, maybe it's a model, but it's so brilliant. I loved it. Yeah. And then Resilient Lehigh Valley, that's a United Way chapter here in the Lehigh Valley. So all providing services for the community. And then NAMI Mainline PA is the chapter that's down closer to Wayne, Pennsylvania. So this is the group that'll be at the Saturday event at 118 North, along with Project Healing Hive, which is a very cool operation as well. And so these are all organizations you can kind of go and learn more about. We'll have another batch later on, but wanted to get to another interview. Dan Whitener is a banjo player in the band Gangstagrass. And I'm pretty sure he studied social work when he was younger, and then now has gone back to school to turn that from a social work degree into therapist degree. So he's actually going to just simply share his journey as a gigging touring musician and how he kind of pivoted to now be focused on becoming a therapist for the music industry. So I bet you he will be one of the clinicians for Backline. But here, take a listen to our talk with Dan Whitener, banjo player, Gangstagrass. You're hearing off the top there probably what I would consider some of the most American music being made today, but that's some great music by Gangstagrass. And super honored to have joining us today Dan Whitener, who is in the band, and I also got to thank you too. You're on Stork Patrol, and you're deciding to take some time away to talk with little old me.
Absolutely. We're really happy to do it.
But we don't want to bury the lead or jump to the key point of this. But one of the elements as to why we're having you kind of share your story today, specific to this theme, is you're currently taking a little bit of a break from the touring aspect of the band so that you can focus on your studying social work and looking to become somewhat of a mental health therapist for the music industry.
Yeah, that's the goal, as clearly as I fleshed it out. I think sometimes when you don't know exactly what you want to do next, that can be a good sign that it's time to go back to school.
That's so true. We kind of wanted to just kind of paint this picture of your history. Let's get to the Gangstagrass moment. So my favorite part about this story is either you or they found each other on Craigslist.
That's right. That's
I
right.
love that.
They posted, and that's I had been looking on the Craigslist ads I'd played with a couple of bands. I'd found different people who were looking for banjo players, and typically it would be a bluegrass band, maybe a country band, or like an Americana or rock influence with a banjo in there too for 2 or 3 songs.
Sure.
And so then I found this ad, and it just mysteriously said looking for a banjo player, and I said, "Oh boy, here we go again." And no, here we did not go again. I was wrong about that, but I went in with an open mind, and it turned out to be a terrific thing. And what I love when I get to introduce the band to people now, like when I played with the band recently, I saw some of the folks that have been touring with them. When you approach this concept with an open mind, I think you can really get the potential, kind of like when I first approached the banjo as an instrument, and I thought, this seems cool, I'm going to ride it out. And over time, over the last 10 years, the idea of combining bluegrass with hip hop has only become more fruitful and more obvious.
Yeah, and that's why I call it like some of the most American music being made, because you're taking something that is some of the most iconically American history music of bluegrass, and then you're taking some of the most iconic current urban music and mixing it together in a melting pot. I mean, quite literally. And so it's another band too that I always love. Like if I learn somebody has never heard Gangstagrass before, I'm almost jealous of you, because I remember the first time I heard it and it blew my mind. So let's bring in some of it so that people can also see you rip the banjo. And it's a song that you play and sound terrific on, called Nickel and Dime Blues. But here, enjoy some Gangstagrass.
Store just to get a little bottle of pills, cause the man on the television told me there's a cure for all my ills. Well, I walked on up to the counter and I told him what I had. Now he said, you ain't got no money, you can't afford to be feeling so bad. Oh, can you spare a nickel, brother? Can you spare a dime? Need a couple more dollars now just to get me on down the line.
Hey there, how you doing, ask the folks? I tell them all the same thing, old, black, and broken. They think
So there you have it. And again, there's way more to dive into there with, like we talked about, your history with the banjo and banjo as an instrument and this music. But today we're focused on conversations around mental health. And so, like we mentioned off the top, you have stopped touring so that you could focus on this. Is there stuff you can share about that, again, crossroads moment where you decided this is going to be the most important decision and I need to go down this path?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, I think you hear these, hear the call of these different, pulls and pushes. People talk about things, influences that push you and influences that pull you. And ideally you want to be following the pulls.
Sure.
Those things that really get you from inside and are motivating you towards something that's positive, as opposed to, thinking about something that's negative that you want to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I had even before the pandemic, even before COVID, which was of course a watershed moment for all of us, every performing musician who had to kind of stop and figure it out.
Sure.
A lot of us are asking questions that we still haven't answered. But the reality was that for many of us, that was just a moment to stop and think about things that you were already dealing with, or not necessarily dealing with, addressing, but things that were on your mind, things that were weighing on you about the industry in general or your place in it. And that was true for me as it was for so many people. So I was already feeling a little fatigued from the road in 2018, 2019. We were doing a lot at that point. Over the last year, I was part of a couple of different events, conferences, one in particular, the really significant one, about a year before I ended up starting this journey where I'm in a graduate program for social work. The band participated with this organization called Braver Angels, and we went to their convention in Gettysburg, which was focused on depolarizing people politically. And we were the musical artist in residence. And that's about all I have to say about that.
That's exactly right.
Except that we also individually broke out into these songwriting workshops where we were the musical facilitators. And we worked with the participants who attended this conference, not necessarily musicians, but people who just wanted to get involved in that way. And the goal was to come together across political divisions and borders, and come together and work to write a song about a specific topic that might have political contentious meanings associated with it. I ended up helping this group write a song about healthcare. All right. So, and it was one of the more meaningful experiences I've ever had in or out of music. And the fact that that was so rewarding to me really started to suggest, this band is allowing me to open such wonderful doors. And I don't take that for granted. But also, isn't there maybe then something further down that road? We don't do too many depolarizing political conferences with this band. We certainly could. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that sort of thing. But it just had me asking, maybe there's something a little more in this direction, a little bit more direct and focused than simply sitting on stage or standing on stage and performing in that way.
And you're absolutely right about that. Like at shows, I've seen, and I'm just going to play the stereotypes because it'll fit the story, but like the very stereotypical bluegrass fan, pick whatever image of that you'd like, saying, "Oh, I didn't think I liked rap music, but I like this." And very stereotypical rap fans going, "I didn't think I liked bluegrass music, but I like this." And you're bringing these people together, standing together, clinking beers together, having a great time. So you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. And we saw that over and over, and it was a wonderful thing. We really, I think music in general disarms people.
Sure.
I think when you've got those two different groups and people that might not get along outside of the concert hall, they're not going to get into an argument in the concert hall. They're there to listen to music and have a good time. And that's not an opiate. That's not something where we want to anesthetize or desensitize people. We're still talking about the meaningful stuff that we care about in the lyrics, but we're doing it in a way that's not standing up there and delivering a diatribe and getting everybody retrenched into their camps. And that, again, something we didn't go in with that political mission top of mind.
You were just making great music.
Yeah, but we started to look around at those crowds, and it emerged, and we realized, oh, this is a really great opportunity to do this kind of work intentionally.
Yeah. So let's talk about your motivation. So this is obviously a big time decision for you, but it's so meaningful to you. So, and it's specific to musicians. Like you're looking to do this to get back to this industry.
Yeah.
Because you must know people, and you don't have to share anything other than just acknowledge the fact that you're motivated for this for obviously very important reasons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a way to put it, when I started to sort of craft my, I actually noticed over the last few years I had been subconsciously or consciously resharing anytime somebody announced that they were taking a hiatus from a band or touring, or if a band was breaking up or any of those things, I would share that and kind of register it and just mark the passing or the occasion.
Honor it. Yeah.
But I really wanted to acknowledge, like, that is a common enough story. I don't need to name a person for you to be nodding along. You know what I'm talking about.
That's exactly right.
And we all do. Not just all musicians, but even fans. So I think we all get that this is a hard industry. And so for me, it was sort of pivoting. Well, I feel like I need a break from doing this. But why? Like, why do
Mhm.
I need a break so badly? What is it about this that is so hard?
Right.
And I was looking to try to have a better understanding of that, not just from an experiential place. I've been doing this for 10 years. I know what it's like.
Yep.
But I was just showing these textbooks back here
Right.
that you have on methods of research and policy analysis and all this dry stuff that I never thought I'd be getting into until you realize that it's tools and it's means
Sure.
to potentially, maybe do some work in ways that, when you get to that kind of a barrier, you've run out of road and say, this is about all I can do from where I'm standing. I need to attack this from a different angle.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and truly noble, and really respect what you're doing there to make this decision, because it's not the easy one. I mean, it's asking for like a completely different set of stressors and responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's fair. I've got it's a lot going on. It's a lot to handle actively, but
it's the calling that you're feeling. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing that's going to stop you from doing it.
no, it's a good thing. And
Mhm.
with everything else going on in the world, it just feels like a great place for me to be in. I think there's a definition of stress that people aren't conventionally aware of as well. But like when we think about stress, there's stress and there's eustress. The Greek prefix eu,
Mhm.
meaning good, like euphemism, euphoria. Eustress is good stress.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, where I'm at right now, I think for a lot of people, music can be that.
Totally.
The music job, that can be a good challenge. It is a
Mhm.
challenge, but
Yeah.
it can be so rewarding. And I've had moments where it was that. But for me, right now, it's not the easy way. But I have this thing I talk to my wife about sometimes, where you think about the easy thing and the hard thing, and my sort of Occam's razor is, you always do the easy thing, because
Mhm.
the hard thing, if it were you'd be doing it, but that's the harder thing. So
Right.
you can look at a thing and say, man, that looks like it's so hard, but I'll tell you right now, some of the things that had gotten me to a place of feeling like I just, it is hard to miss your family. It is hard
Totally.
it's hard to be away from home to the point where you don't feel like you can put down roots to a meaningful extent.
Right.
So many, so many things I could describe that are hard, but
Totally.
one of the things in social work we talk about is a strengths-based approach. So, I can instead focus on when I started to finally see a path forward that I could understand over the
Mhm.
course of the previous year. The Gettysburg Braver Angels convention was one point in that. We went to another couple like incubator type events, and at one point I did an event with the Bluegrass Music Association,
Sure.
IBMA, and I was asking a lot of these questions, and I had conversations with people. I didn't know that Backline existed, and all of a sudden I got put in touch with the people running it.
Yep.
Through mutual connections, and it started to really point me in a direction to say, there's a way you can go here if you want to, and I don't know what's at the end of it, but some opportunities.
Totally.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing all that. Thank you for doing this very noble work. Certainly not. Well, Dan Whitener, Danjo from Gangstagrass, studying to be social work, mental health counselor, or like you said, who knows where this will take you. I can't wait to find out. I know we wish you could join us this year, but like we said, you're on Stork Patrol. So the family is growing in addition to studying, whatever your free moments are is filled with this. So hopefully this is our second annual. So every February we're looking to do this. And so hopefully the third annual will feature Dan Whitener on the lineup.
I hope so. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks so much for the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan.
We are.
So there's our conversation with Dan Whitener, musician, mental health professional, and just such a...
And
He is listener.
He's
Thank you. I was just going to actually speak to this. And it's even happening right now. There's that song at the end, the songs that are on the beginning and the end are always obviously either part of the music. So there it would start with Gangstagrass. That closing song was a Dan Whitener song called We Are Gonna Be Okay. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's something about that song that just gets me. It makes me tear up. Like, it's such a powerful, beautiful song. It's something about the way it's created. So kudos to you, Dan. That's something special about that track. Because I was like, oh, how do I close? You always want to bookend these interviews. I'm like, how do I close this out? And it just dawned on me. I'm like, oh, I keep looking at Gangstagrass music. I was like, I bet you there's some Dan Whitener music out there. So I went and looked it up, and I saw a track called We Are Gonna Be Okay. And I was like, oh, well, let's play that one, obviously. So I hit it, and it just took me on like a 4.5 minute beautiful ride. Like, it was just this gorgeous track. And I was just like, yep, gonna use that one at the end. Yeah,
Power of
exactly.
music.
And just this theme and this, the struggle, and to hear people just persevering and rising above and all this stuff, it gets to me sometimes. But thank you to Dan for a tremendous interview. Like I said, it's about double that length, and it's just as good. I struggled to come up where the edits were, but I had to just pick and share those moments. But please take a moment to listen to the entire interview. Listen to Gangstagrass music if you're not familiar with that. And listen to Dan Whitener's solo stuff, because it's really great. But I wanted to put this note that he had put up there while the interview was going on. He mentioned that he discovered the writing of Dr. George Musgrave, who is extremely insightful on why music industry is so damaging to mental health. So I will definitely check that out, and if I can link to anything in the show notes, I certainly will. If there's something you want to specifically point us to, Dan, either email me or drop it in the chat here. Let's see. He also said, thank you. It's really my wife's co-writing that make that song great. Wow, that's awesome. I can't wait to learn more about that. Wow. And yes, there you go.
Go women.
Yes, absolutely. Well, tell her she did an amazing job as well. And thank you for the music and the conversation. So, wanted to bring on another song here. The next person down the lineup that we were going to highlight is Brian Walker. Like we talked about, his kind of moniker while he performs is called A Day Without Love. And we will certainly get into that over the weekend. If you want to learn more about it, check out the interview we did with him earlier last year. But his style of music is called folk punk, which when you hear those two words, they don't sound like they go together, but they do. And this is a great example of it. Here is Good Friends Are Hard to Find by A Day Without Love.
Think I struggle, yes I'm mining. Some things are hard to find, and I found something. We're on the same page, living a different story. You complete me, no longer empty. The glass is full. You came to me like a walk in the park. We could do whatever we want. Good friends are hard to find. 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 Looking at me and I'm looking at you. I like the way we sing the blues. I'm not an island. I look at your back and I look at your past. No longer vulnerable. I've got a good friend. You came to me like a walk in the park. We could do whatever we want. Good friends are hard to find. 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 You came to me when I was alone. You make me feel at home. Hard to find. Good friends are hard to find. Good friends are hard to find. Good friends are hard to find. again. I found you.
There is A Day Without Love. Brian Walker singing his great track called Good Friends Are Hard to Find. Yeah.
I love that. So true.
It
So
sure
true.
is. It sure is. And just a
I like
Yes.
the way he plays his guitar. It makes me feel like I could do it.
So he is a lefty, and Cass Noel is a lefty. So the lineup is split: 2 righties, 2 lefties, that's hard to find. But again, and the other thing I think that hopefully is on display is just how talented these are: musicians, songwriters, performers. Like, these are just going to be. I can't wait for Friday and Saturday. That's just what I'm getting at there.
I can't wait to steal all this music that you're giving me.
That would absolutely. Would love that. But let's do the other batch so we can cover all the tabling organizations. Here's another wave. Find Yourself and Be That is a group of mental health professionals who help people kind of navigate when they're not quite sure of the identity and the path they're on. So I believe that even is adolescence, if I'm not wrong about that. I apologize if I am, but I think they can handle, because obviously under 18 is a totally different type of therapist than someone who's handling adults. But I believe they handle those and navigate that quite well. I'm almost sure of that. But regardless, they are a wonderful organization. And in fact, on the lineup last year, Carly Commando of Slingshot Dakota is part of their organization right now. She's back to school to learn how to be a therapist as well. So just all of these really, really awesome musicians who are also amazing humans trying to go and help other people. Lehigh Valley Girls Rock, they create a safe space for female and trans young adults to learn how to play music. So we always like to make sure they have an opportunity to table at this event as well, because a lot of mental health goes into that. And so if they can go and get a safe space and learn how to be a musician, we're obviously all about that. Stained Leaf is a really cool one. So this is somebody who, and I got their okay to share this, so I'm not outing anything here. But basically, she is someone who does stained glass, either jewelry, like earrings, hairpins, or just artwork and stuff. And the reason why that's joining us for this day, because everything else you would say is either a mental health organization or a safe space. What it is she overcame cutting. And cutting is a coping mechanism to overcome either anxiety, depression, what have you. And it was so bad for her at one point in her life that if even somebody just like dropped a glass, broke a light bulb or something, she couldn't be around broken glass because the urge to use it was too strong. She actually had to leave the room while people dealt with that. So, but over therapy and through all of her different, life's journeys, she overcame it. And she now finds power in working with glass as an art because she's now in control of it, right? Same thing. When she told me that, I was like, she was just telling me the story because we know her, friends of the family. And I was just like, will you come to this event and sell your art? Because people might find that as a very like powerful thing to have, because if they struggle, that might show them it's not only doable, but you can master it and turn it into these beautiful things. So anyway, that, like you said, gave me goosebumps, and I couldn't hesitate to offer her the opportunity to set up a table and talk about that with other people and hopefully sell some pieces as well. And the last group here, we'll start at the bottom, New Bethany Ministries, New Bethany now. They are a local homeless shelter and food bank for people in the community of Bethlehem to have a place to go to, transitional housing. They do such wonderful things for the community, and we applaud all of their efforts, and they're such wonderful people. Love having them a part of things. And then the upper two are actually the same leadership across both. And that's also the other interview we have here, so we don't have to talk to it too much. But Speak Up for Ben was a nonprofit that advocated for change, and then the Oasis Community Center is something that got born out of that tragedy of the loss of their child. So let's let Rhonda Miller, executive director of these two organizations, is our third and final interview for the evening. And again, highlights here. It's a dark story that has super inspiring moments at the end. So take a listen to our time with Rhonda Miller. We're here with Rhonda Miller, the head of the Speak Up for Ben Association and the Oasis Community Center, which we are in right now. Thank you so much for having us on a Saturday morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we just went on a tour of the space. It's this stunningly, beautiful space. It's a calming space. It's a welcoming space. And so we're going to definitely get into more about all the different services that are provided here. But it's an inspiration, really, and a really great thing that the community has available to it that I don't know that a lot of people are fully aware of.
No, it's the best kept secret. We want to change that.
I was going to say, let's do our best to make it not a secret anymore,
That's right.
especially based on the importance of the themes and what it provides. But
so we have two sons, Alex, who is now 35. He lives in Baltimore City. And Ben, who would be 32 if he were with us still.
Got it. Yeah. And so the majority of this story will follow Ben's journey, but obviously yours as well, because that's even some of the important aspects of what this place has become. But so Ben became like a vibrant, thriving young man. He was involved in soccer, involved in music. In fact, this is a picture of him and his guitar. And so that was where this became such an interesting kind of organization for me to learn about when I saw it. But again, we'll touch on that in a second. But because he was a musician.
Yeah, Ben was a very dynamic personality, full of life and vigor, enthusiasm, joy.
Yep.
But also a very sensitive person.
Sure.
He was very creative in many, many ways, but music was really his love. He was a self-taught musician. He took guitar lessons, but then he was a self-taught keyboardist and helped launch a popular regional band here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, and I think the important reason why I wanted to make sure we touch on that was this was someone probably perceived as not struggling.
Yeah, you would never know it. He looked like the boy next door.
Mm-hmm.
Always had a beaming smile. Super friendly, outgoing, very caring person.
Yep.
And I think that was part of, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with when they have mental health issues. It's easy to conceal it.
Yeah.
Right behind a smile, not let everybody know what exactly is going on inside. So,
and it may be just, I'm just having a bad day inside. Or it might be, I don't want to burden somebody else with this stuff. Or it might be the stigma of, I don't want to acknowledge this publicly. It could be any of those reasons. And in an adolescent, it's that much more probably pressure of peer pressures and such around.
Yeah. As you pointed out, Ben was an athlete. He was a rising soccer star. He had ambitions to get a scholarship full ride to a college and play soccer there, as well as he wanted to study music business.
Yep.
He wanted to become a professional in the music industry.
Yep.
So that was his aspiration. But when he was in his 15th year, as you pointed out, many adolescents struggle. It's a time of a lot of turmoil emotionally for kids, and that's when I think that, inside of him, he was battling greater wars than we knew, than everyone around him was aware of.
Yeah. Yes, and I think the other part here is you weren't unaware. You knew that he was struggling with these things. You were supportive of getting him the help he needed, and yet it still went down a path.
Yeah, I mean, we had access to, psychologists, therapists, psychiatric support, treatment. He had been in and out of treatment. The treatment system is, it was not very good in those days. It's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but you really need a lot of support and a lot of understanding, which we provided to him. But I think that, when you're struggling with an addiction or a mental health issue, it is really oftentimes difficult to open up, to be vulnerable, feel safe, because there's so much stigma.
Right.
And, when you get up and you fall down, and then you get up and you fall down, you just feel like a failure. And I think he probably struggled with that, just feeling like, here we go again, he relapsed again. And, there's got to be so much compassion extended to somebody who's struggling with mental health issues and substance issues.
Yeah, so one of the musicians on the lineup, and you'll hear this on Friday and Saturday during the performances, but one thing she always points out, because her husband struggled and then passed with a heroin addiction, and she said you have to remember that every person who's, like, if you see someone on the street and have some sort of a biased reaction to that, that's someone's child, that's someone's husband or wife or whatever. Like, that is someone who is a person of love for someone out there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy to put labels on people.
Right.
And easy to pass judgment. That's how the world works.
Right.
But we have to always remember these are people,
Yeah.
person first. So we avoid language like addict, which is a highly stigmatizing term. You know, we use different language like a person who lives with a substance use disorder, a person who lives with alcohol use disorder, rather than calling them a drunk or a addict, or druggie. You know, those are horrible, stigmatizing terms.
Correct. Yeah, and words are important. The other thing that Cass talks about, and this is where things turn even darker, is that heroin is so readily available and very cheap on the streets, and that's where Ben starts to turn when he doesn't have anything else available.
Yeah, Ben. He always promised himself that he would only go so far with drugs and he would never use heroin. And yet, when he was cut off from Suboxone, which he was being medically prescribed to curtail his cravings for the prescribed opioids that he was being administered by doctors with legitimate prescriptions, he was cut off from that. And then really at that point, felt like he had no choice but turn to the street.
Sure.
And street heroin, super cheap. But today, it's largely fentanyl that's out there.
Right.
There really isn't even heroin on the streets anymore.
Yeah. And that's where things, but
Yeah.
you're pretty sure that it was fentanyl that took his life.
Oh, it was. Ben was in treatment, and he was doing really, really well. And he was prematurely discharged because he was doing so well. The insurance company said, Ben is doing so well that he no longer needs this level of care. And so we no longer pay for inpatient. Out he goes, he'll do outpatient. So out he went, got an apartment with another young man from his treatment center. And the first day, he got in his car and drove to we don't know where. And he thought he got heroin. It was 100% fentanyl.
Wow.
So in today's world, it's extremely risky. Anything you buy on the street, even marijuana on the street, laced with fentanyl, and it takes very, very little, like a microscopic bit of fentanyl to take somebody's life.
Wow. So sorry for even asking you to tell that story and for the loss, but I think that's where you find a pathway yourself. So like now we'll kind of pivot more to you and the family working through that grief. Obviously end up in extremely dark places.
Yeah.
Struggling with the whys and the what fors and
Yeah, I fought for my child's life for 8 long and arduous years right alongside of him, giving him every support I could find. And it's been the most devastating experience of my life. And I can't imagine anything more devastating than losing a child.
Of course.
We lost Ben August 1st, 2016, 1 week before his 24th birthday.
Wow.
And that sent me into a very dark place. I fell into a deep, debilitating depression.
Of course.
And I felt like I had no purpose any longer for living.
Yeah.
I wasn't suicidal, but I just, my whole life was my son, helping my son.
Different stuff. But at some point you actually start to harness it and turning into a positive anger.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I fell into a dark, dark depression and kind of was in that place. But processing my grief, getting support, going to grief groups and counseling and whatnot. But about 2 years in, I was invited to Purdue Pharmaceuticals headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, along with hundreds of families who lost their loved one.
Wow.
And we had a protest march. And it garnered national attention, and it was the start of change with, what was going on with Purdue Pharmaceuticals. That is when I found the inner healthy anger,
right?
Really, and I started to see like this is so much bigger than Ben just making bad decisions.
Sure.
It was not about Ben making bad decisions. Ben had a serious substance use disorder, which is a medical disease.
Yes.
It changes the brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized, the bigger picture of the public health crisis that the pharmaceutical industry has created,
Yep.
I started getting involved with advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, going to marches and
Yep.
protesting and whatnot.
And is this where the Speak Up for Ben
Yeah, we launched
organization formed?
launched our nonprofit in December of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We named it Speak Up for Ben,
Mm-hmm.
for all the Bens out there.
Sure.
Because Ben, even though he was an outgoing personality, he had great difficulty finding his voice
Mm-hmm.
and speaking up and advocating for his own needs.
Yep.
So our son, Alex, named it Speak Up for Ben. He found that
That's
Ben formed an acronym, Break the Silence, End the Stigma, Never Forget.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of in short, the mission of our nonprofit.
Mm.
And so we do education in the community and help break the stigma because people aren't talking about it. And that's why I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing with this show, because it's so important for people to recognize that there's no shame in having mental health struggles.
Sure.
We all do in some way, shape, or form at various times in our life. There's no shame in developing a substance use disorder because there is help available.
Yep.
And it's breaking the stigma and having these open, honest conversations.
Yeah. And no shame asking for help. I think that's like that most important step of self-advocacy or accepting it from someone else who's insisting, hey, you probably need some help here. Just take the help.
Yeah.
If you find it afterwards you don't need it, that's fine. But knowing that you might never accept it is the tragedy.
Yeah, and one thing that's important to realize is a disease such as substance use disorder, it's a disease of progression.
Yeah.
So, you can't ignore it like, I've got this big job or project or this, album I'm creating. Now is not a good time. Later. If you don't take care of it now, it'll just continue to progress.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the parallels to physical health are like the more we can think about these two things as needing the same attention and care all the time, is going to help out. Because like if you're not physically well, but you're like, it won't be a problem. If you're waiting for it to become a medical issue, that's too late. Not too late, you can still help, but like it'd be way better to avoid that moment of I'm now in a point of crisis.
When Ben's addiction first became known to us when he was 17 years old, I explained to him, it's similar to like even a cancer. If you catch it early, you can get rid of it, you can curtail it, and you can move on and have a successful life.
Yep.
But if you don't deal with it, then it progressively will get worse and worse by various stages.
Yes.
And that's the same thing with a substance use disorder.
Yeah.
There actually are medical stages.
Yeah.
That
It's
occur.
interesting that you're absolutely right that would be a great way to look at it. Because that could help you also feel like those remissions aren't your fault. Like it's, there are elements to it that are medically provable. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you for that. So tell us about this space. So Oasis Community Center, how do you find the space and how do you start to move into it?
Yeah, so when we opened our nonprofit, Speak Up for Ben, we got involved with working with Northampton County Drug and Alcohol Division. Just, I really wanted to educate the community.
Yep.
So I approached them and asked them to partner with me on some projects that we were working on.
Yep.
We quickly garnered their attention for the work we were doing, and they offered us a contract to open the first family recovery center in Pennsylvania and quite likely the nation. And we call it Oasis Community Center. What's unique about it is it's a support for anybody who is impacted by somebody else's substance use. Okay, so it's largely families, but it could be friends, it could be, some folks, it's coworkers, neighbors, even a bandmate. If you're concerned about somebody else's use of drugs or alcohol and you need support, this is what we exist for.
Yeah.
We offer evidence-based education, which is so important because we utilize a different approach than what I was taught when Ben's addiction came
and
out.
not that long ago.
Not that long ago. So, there's sort of this attitude of what they call like tough love, kick them out, make them do this, make them do that, let them face the consequences of their actions. But that can be, in today's world of fentanyl, devastating and a sentence of death.
Sure.
So we really advocate for folks to really understand the medical disease of substance use disorder, which we teach. And then we teach them communication skills and, really having an approach of compassion for people that are struggling.
Totally. Yeah. And first of its kind.
We are the first of its kind. We hope that this model will be replicated throughout Pennsylvania and across the country because it's so needed. We serve about 4,000 folks every year that come through our doors. Everything that we offer is at no cost to the public. We have counseling groups. We have educational programs. We have a lot of support programs. And then we have a focus on wellness.
Sure.
So we understand that, the family system gets broken down when there's substances involved. And we need to rebuild and heal. So we have a heavy focus on building wellness, resiliency skills, coping skills, and then finding joy again.
Yeah.
Because when you're worried constantly about somebody you care about, it can really rob you of joy.
Totally. Yeah, that stress of not knowing what that next phone call or text would be about. Yeah. Last thing I would want to cover here is obviously, since you're giving these services out for free, they don't cost you nothing. So I want to make sure people understand that this being a nonprofit, they can donate money, they can donate time. And so whatever they might have from a resource standpoint to be able to give, where can they learn more about the organization and maybe make a donation?
Yeah. So we are a 501c nonprofit organization, Speak Up for Ben, and then we operate the Oasis Community Center. We charge nothing for our services, and we want everyone to know they are welcome, even if they don't feel like they have somebody with addiction. Maybe they're just not sure. They want more information. Just come into our doors. Our website is oasisbethlehem.org.
Got it.
And that's for Oasis Community Center. And the website for our nonprofit is speakupforben.org.
And we'll link to all of that here.
And yes, we, volunteers are needed. We're kind of like a little mom and pop organization here. So we do rely on community support that way.
Of course, yeah, as everyone does. So yeah, please learn more about the organization. You'll be down at the event on Friday at the Ice House.
Yes.
So there'll be several tabling organizations. We'll share that out, obviously, here on the show. But people can come and stop by the table and learn more about both the organization as well as the center on Friday night or at any time they can stop by.
Yeah, we're in a beautiful 224-year-old stone farmhouse on the Monocacy Creek. It's just a beautiful, serene, peaceful location.
Basically right off 512. It's a beautiful spot. You're going to want to come check it down, and wonderful, beautiful services that you're providing.
Thank you.
Rhonda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
There's the car by the bridge where nobody goes. Keep on laughing with every blow. Is it wrong?
So there you have our conversation with Rhonda Miller. Tragic story, making the best out of that.
Yeah.
Like she said, turning it into positive anger. The Speak Up for Ben organization and then the Oasis Community Center.
Yeah, what a great way to take something so tragic and really help other people. I mean,
Yeah. And I again, not only did this one I struggled to edit because not only is it good content, but I was like removing vital elements of this young man's legacy, her legacy. Like, I mean, again, please take a moment to watch these entire interviews or come down Friday night and meet Rhonda. She and two other members of the organization will be at the table, and you can ask more questions about what's going on there and how to support it, because it's a unique and beautiful thing. I also love to bring on hyper-local stuff like that for two reasons. One, to kind of obviously help out people who might be local enough to tap into it, but also there's probably an organization similar to that in your town.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about that one until it's in the longer interview. I was walking by in the month of September, since it's, I think, Substance Abuse Awareness Month. The entire month of September, over by the steel stacks in Bethlehem, they put up banners of all people from the Lehigh Valley who passed away from substance abuse.
Yeah.
And so it's called Angels in the Valley. And so I saw the sign, and I just basically took a picture of it to learn more about Speak Up for Ben. And then it led to this. And so I had no idea that this awesome place was there, but for this kind of, memoriam to people who lost their lives. And it's this, kind of bittersweet, beautiful moment of you're able to kind of recognize these people as the humans that they were, rather than this mental illness that they struggled with. So if you're not in the Lehigh Valley and you're tuned into this, or you're checking out the interviews, just explore your neighborhood. I bet you there's organizations similar or like these, or just beautiful in their own way. That there's these people who are just, amazing in what they offer and give up for the community. It's tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So again, this kind of the spirit of this, all the music, all of the support, and again the acknowledgement that everyone's going through something is what Listen to the Dissonance is about. If you ignore it, it's not going to get any better. And in music, there's consonance and dissonance makes the consonance better. So like if you only ever made things that sounded pretty, it wouldn't sound as pretty as if it didn't have those moments where it was like, well, that wasn't quite what you would normally expect to hear. But it's a musical tool to make the other parts sound even more beautiful. So it's like this, that's where the name comes from. And that's
Oh my
why
gosh,
it's...
that's, again, I'm just covered in goosebumps tonight.
Well, let me take a moment too to say thank you to Kate here for going on this journey tonight. Like you kind of just said yes, let's do it, and most of it was for you to kind of experience in real time, and be able to kind of be the steward or shepherd of the audience. So what'd you think? What we have one more song to play. So but Cass, like, what are you looking forward to from these four musicians?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I just love I love learning from your show. I love that you share your musicians with me. I'm bummed that I can't come on Friday, but I think I can be there on Saturday.
Well, there we go. Nice. That's why we like the second performance.
Yeah, for sure. And I just, I love when people are really vulnerable. Like that to me is like true art, and I love music, and I just think this is like the perfect storm. So thank you so much for asking me. Thank you so much for begging me to be on here.
That's right. The check is in the mail. But like we said, we do have one more song. We're going to let this kind of play us out to the close. Cass Noel, local Lehigh Valley, like favorite of mine, gorgeous angelic voice, and has these really, really cool original songs that she's writing. They're only starting to come out now. There's only one song out there on streaming. So the song that I have here is actually she played during the interview that we did, and it was we gathered around my fireplace here in my home. We do this every year the week of Thanksgiving. We record the episode at the fireplace and make it a little bit about gratitude, but then also about that musician's backstory. And she showed up that day, and I said, "Oh, what song are you going to play?" And she's like, "Well, I wrote this song 2 days ago." And I was like, "Okay, let's
show off."
Well, that's what I mean. Is like she like knocked this song out, and it's so good that it was the one I wanted to play tonight. And it's called "Heart of This Town," and it's about a river running through the town, and sometimes people supporting each other and sometimes not. And that's why I kind of thought it was maybe. And in the lyrics, she's calling out those people for not supporting the people when they were in deep need. But then it comes back around to being supportive. So it's a full circle song about a town with a river running through it, which Bethlehem has, Philadelphia has, lots of major cities around there have this story behind them. So thank you all again for tuning in tonight. Hope that anyone within the ability to get to Bethlehem or Wayne can join us this weekend. If not, hope you enjoy this kind of theme and reach out and let us know if there's anything we can do to help either find your next favorite band or perhaps navigate mental health needs. Want to do whatever we can to help support that. But thank you again, Kate, and enjoy Heart of This Town by
And
Cass
just
Noel.
seeing that kind of community, like
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the basis of this song. I'm tentatively calling it The Heart of This Town.
Sure.
Because the initial thought was like, there's a river that runs through the heart of this town.
Mhm.
Like, why are we putting each other down? Why aren't we
Right.
working together to make it better? And literally everyone was working together to make it better. So it was just really heartwarming to see.
Cool. And then when we first chatted, it wasn't even done yet.
Oh no, I wrote it 2 days ago. I like to do that for like Music Fest or something like this. I'm like, here's one I wrote this morning.
Yeah,
And,
no,
like,
that's so fantastic, and so we super appreciate that awesome opportunity. And so let's take a listen to this brand new track, to 48 Hours Old.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Pointing fingers might help you to get through. Remember the others still pointing back at you. You look in the mirror and you don't like you too. Oh, sweet child, what did your daddy do? See a man who's barely hanging on. So you take a picture and post it for some fun. Would it kill you to really see someone? God forbid it would ever be your son. There are people behind all of these lost causes. There are people behind all these rodeo clowns. There's a vision of love that's long been forgotten. There's a river that runs through the heart of this town. What do you do when it's your world that's burning up? And that same man is asking how can he help? Would you offer your hand to help him to get up? Oh, he doesn't have much, but he would give all of himself. There are people behind all these lost causes. There are people behind all these rodeo clowns. There's a vision of love that's long been forgotten. There's a river that runs through the heart of this town. Now there's smoke every time we breathe. We're in this together. It's not just you and it's not just me. All around, people asking, what do you need to put out this fire? Will you fight with me? There are people behind all of these lost causes. There are people behind all these rodeo clowns. There's a vision of love that's long been forgotten. There's a river that runs through the heart of this town. We are the river that runs through the heart of this town.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band previewing Listen to the Dissonance 2025. We'd like to sincerely thank a lot of people, so hang on here for a minute as we get through them all. The sponsors, WDIY, Tumbleweed Photographer, and BetterHelp. Also, the graphic designer of the poster this year, Marissa Paternoster. All 4 members of the lineup, John Worthy, Brittany Ann Tranbaugh, Brian Walker of A Day Without Love, and Cass Noel. We would also like to thank all the tabling organizations, so that's NAMI Lehigh Valley as well as NAMI Main Line, Resilient Lehigh Valley, Speak Up for Ben in the Oasis Community Center, Find Yourself and Be That, New Bethany, the Clubhouse of Lehigh County, Lehigh Valley Girls Rock, Stained Leaf, and Project Healing Hive. We would also like to thank the Ice House for having us yet again for the show on Friday night. 118 North for the opportunity to bring this closer to the main line in Philadelphia, down in Wayne, Pennsylvania. And Rising Sun Presents, who booked that. Jesse Lundy, who helped make the connections. Lots of people to be grateful for the ability to bring this out there. Also, our interviews tonight, Ari Jacobson from Backline, Dan Whitener of Gangstagrass, and obviously also Rhonda Miller of the Speak Up for Ben and Oasis Community Centers. Big thank you to Kate Hughes for joining us tonight and being the wonderful guest co-host. Just thank you for all of you who have tuned in, and hopefully you can join us and listen to the Dissonance.
Stop rubbing out.